Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 1994 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am GT. Up front is a 5.7 liter V8, and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Firebird Trans Am GT, of which I will be referring to it as just a Trans Am from here on out, for many reasons. First of all, I grew up with someone who had one of these, and this was one of the first cool cars that I ever actually really saw, or at least got close to without going to a car show. So I have a lot of nostalgia with this particular vehicle. But the second reason is the fact that I haven't driven many other F-bodies from the 90s. I have done the Camaro, but that was one time 3 or almost 4 years ago now. So I figured it's time to re-up my knowledge of the F-body. But if you would like to share your F-body or some other vehicle with me, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form, takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 5.7 liter LT1 under the hood. Well, it's not really the preferred engine, or at least the preferred V8 found here in the Trans Am. Later, there was the LS, which is, among GM enthusiasts, a lot better of an engine. This LT1 saw life in the Buick Roadmaster and other big GM vehicles. It's not really very poignant in its power. However, it is a big, lopey V8, and that's what I would expect out of a vehicle like this. Now, the Trans Am is different than just the Firebird. The Trans Am got better looks. It came standard with a V8, where the Firebird could have came with a V6. So it certainly has that going for it. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed automatic. It is the tried and true 4L60E, God bless America, and it's fine. However, you could find these in stick shift, and the manual transmissions, at least in my opinion, are a lot better. They are very strong transmissions, which I really like as well. So if you seek these out, if you could find one in manual, that's my preference. But I'm not mad that this is the automatic. It's still functioning, it's still shifting decently well, so I'm not mad about it. Last but not least, of course, the Trans Am is rear-wheel drive. So how does it feel to actually drive the Trans Am? Well, of course, you do have that big V8 up front. It has a lot of the characteristics of similar vehicles of the era. Of course, its brother in the Camaro, but it sort of has that sled effect where there's a giant pulling power up at the front, and even in the cabin, you're just kind of along for the ride. Steering is decently heavy, but what I expect out of a vehicle like this. Visibility is okay, the windshield's a little bit short, but the A-pillars aren't bad to see through, so overall, no complaints there. And of course, it does have a decently harsh ride, but this car has been lowered, so that does play a role. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a bunch of different gauges. Off to the left, I have my coolant temperature and oil pressure. Then I have my tachometer and speedometer in the center. And off to the right, I have my battery voltage and fuel, and my little odometer saying I only have 66,000 miles on it. So cool to be driving one with such low mileage. Now, the steering wheel has been swapped out for a more modern unit, so this is not the factory steering wheel. However, I'm glad the owner did because my big legs actually fit around it. Off to the left, I do have a climate control vent, as well as my headlight switches and gauge dimmer switches, and my fog light button, a nice addition for the Trans Am. And then moving out of the door, we have the window switches, which are very comically from GM of the 90s. Lock and unlock up top, power mirrors, and then power windows. Moving into the center, we get 3 climate control vents and the factory AC Delco theft lock radio. So you can't steal it. If you do, you need the code from GM, which honestly isn't that hard to get. But I love all of the equalizers off to the right. 40, 100, 250, 625, 1.6K, 4K, and 12K. Balance and fade that pop out. I love this sort of continuation of the 80s technology, moving into the 90s, moving into the Vaporwave era. I love all of the different settings you can use. I wonder how much this actually got utilized back in the day. I can't imagine a whole lot. Then we have the climate controls, incredibly simple here. Fan speed off to the left, temperature in the center, where to send it off to the right. Very hard to get lost in those settings. Then we do have an ashtray, and off to the right is a cigarette lighter. And then we have the shifter itself. This is not the stock shift knob. However, I do really enjoy it. And it does have a little logo down at the bottom that says apply brake to shift from park. Something that you don't see in cars anymore. Then we have a very interesting button. This is for transmission perform. Now, this is a sport mode, but I like that they didn't spend the extra few letters to spell out performance. It just says transmission perform. I usually like it when my transmissions do in fact perform their job. Kind of funny to see. Then we do have a single cup holder, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test for the first time in this generation of F-Body, and unfortunately it fails. Anyone with the gift of eyesight would have been able to tell you that. Then we have a little center console and the seats. The seats are stock, as you can see. This was outfitted with a tan interior, and the seats are very comfortable. GM in this era made very, very comfortable seats, the likes of which still have never been beaten. To me, the most comfortable automobiles in the history of the world have been 90s GM products. So, a big win there. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. You know, in the grand scheme of coupe back seats, if I could find, oh, there it is down here. The F-bodies actually do a really good job. So I'm in the back of the 94 Trans Am. It's not the comfiest place on planet Earth. However, I have driven a Camaro, and we did actually fit 3 people in it pretty comfortably to drive around. So not the end of the world. I don't really get any amenities back here. I can see right into the hatch, but yeah. Anyway, let's hop out. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the Trans Am, and I do have 2 separate keys. So this is of the era where GM was still doing 2 separate keys. Now, I can unlock it with that, or this actually does come with a key fob where I could pop it like that. Once we are in the back here, we do get this nice little compartment down here, and then we get a shelf up there, but that's pretty much it. Not a whole lot of space. The Japanese coupes from the 90s did it a lot better. The Supra, the RX-7, they seem to have a lot more space back here, but still not a bad area for the Trans Am. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and of course the Firebird and the Trans Am on top of that really add to the looks of this vehicle. It looks sharp, it looks cutting, it looks interesting, it looks different, but it also looks so unapologetically 90s. I feel like a kid in 1994 wished his Hot Wheels car would come to life and be parked in his driveway. And lucky enough for the owner of this vehicle, Edgar, that dream has come true. This is just a big Hot Wheels. It looks exaggerated. It doesn't look proportionally correct. But that's what I like about it. This and the Dodge Viper from the 90s really have that look to it. Something that doesn't look like it should physically drive down the road, and yet it does. And so that to me is a big win on its own. Now, there are 2 things on the exterior that hopefully scratch that good part of your brain. First of all, this does have pop-up headlights. Love it, love it, love it. And the second thing is that this also has another forgotten feature, which are T-tops. So you can remove the tops of the Trans Am to give a more open air experience. But now, with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the 1994 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am GT? Well, first of all, I do want to slightly note, they switched to the WS6 for 95, so this is the last year of the GT technically, although not a whole lot changed. But I was so incredibly excited to drive the Trans Am, and I wanted to compare it to the F-body Camaro that I've driven in the past. That also had the V8, although it was manual, they share a platform, they share a lot of parts. You could see the similarities here. And so to me, the Camaro's like a coworker or friend or associate that is kind of crazy. You know, they're a little bit of a wild card. They might say some things that are politically incorrect. They don't always mind their P's and Q's. They're brawny. They're in your face a little bit. They have a big personality. But then, let's just say the Camaro's your close friend. They invite you over for dinner and you meet their family and you realize that their family is even crazier, even wilder, have less of a filter. you start to realize that your friend is actually somewhat reserved and quiet. That's what the Trans Am is. It takes the Camaro and turns it up to 11, not necessarily in performance, but just in personality. I mean, for God's sakes, this car has a bird on it. This is the uncle that wears the Hawaiian shirt to your wedding. And to me, there's a certain charm with that, a certain appeal to having something that is out of the ordinary, something that might make you scratch your head a little bit. Yeah, get out of my way. I love that. I love it, love it, love it. And you know what? For as crazy as those people are, they too have a seat at the table. I can't tell you how many times my girlfriend and I have gone out with my friends or her friends or to a social event, and we get so excited when the crazy oddball character shows up because we know we're gonna have something to talk about in the car ride home. Not that we don't normally talk in the car, but you know that feeling of when something's happening at dinner and you just shoot your significant other or your best friend a glance of like, are you seeing this? And you just know the debrief on the way home is gonna be so juicy because of that person. That's what this car is. That's what this car does. I love it. And I hope that the Trans Am loves me back. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Edgar's absolutely awesome for letting me take out his Trans Am. I was so excited to get behind the wheel of this car and just look at it. I mean, it's so 90s, a bygone era that I truly, truly love. And this whole video has been thank you to Edgar. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it.